Sold in the shadows, the sky above the alien outpost was always red, filled with thick smoke and the stench of fire. People came here to sell, to buy, or to forget. Nobody cared who you were, only what you were worth. Vela stood still in the center of the dusty market, her large body covered in a torn gray cloak. She was taller than most females of her kind, wide-hipped, soft-skinned, and full in shape. Too full, they said, too wide to be useful. To some, she looked like waste, to others, like something to trade. Her stepfather held her arm tight, his claws digging into her flesh. He reeked of old alcohol and smoke. One bottle. He shouted to a group of traders, raising her hand like she was an object. One bottle of red venom. Wine, that's all I ask. She's strong, soft, obedient. No use to me. Laughter came from the crowd. Too big. One yelled, "She break the bed." Said another. Vela lowered her eyes, shame burning her chest. A tall figure stepped from the shadows, different from the rest. His skin was pale, his eyes cold. A human wearing dark armor and a long coat. He walked slowly through the crowd. His boots crushed bones beneath his feet. The stepfather turned, confused. "You here to buy?" he asked, half mocking. The human looked at Vela, then back at the drunk alien. "I'll take her," he said, voice calm. "You have the wine." "No," the human replied, and drew a small device from his belt. It projected a coin-1 gold unit, worth more than 100 bottles. The crowd gasped. The stepfather's eyes lit up. Greedy and fast, he grabbed the coin without a second thought and pushed Vela forward. "She's yours." Vela stumbled, her knees hitting the ground. She expected chains, expected pain. But the human didn't touch her. He simply looked at her and said, "Get up, we're leaving." She stood slowly, unsure, her heart racing. Why wasn't he like the others? Why did he not grab her, laugh at her, use her? As they walked away, whispers followed them. Some said the human was mad. Others said he was sick, but no one dared stop him. They reached a small ship parked outside the market walls. It was old but strong, a black vessel with earth markings, barely visible under the dust. Inside, it was warm, clean, and strangely quiet. The human sat on the pilot chair and motioned her to sit near the corner. "You hungry?" he asked. Vela nodded carefully. He threw her a food pack. "Eat," he said. Turning back to the controls, she opened the packet with shaking hands and bit into soft bread. Real food, she hadn't tasted it in months. Tears filled her eyes before she could stop them. "Why?" she whispered, her voice dry. The human didn't look back. "You looked like you didn't belong there," he said simply. "Do I belong here?" "You're here now." She didn't know what to think. All her life, people only used her or ignored her. Her own stepfather had sold her more than once. But no one had ever fed her without wanting something first. She watched the man closely. He had a scar on his neck and strange marks on his hands. A soldier. A killer. Why did he care about someone like her? She slowly reached into her cloak, touching the piece of broken glass she had hidden for safety. If he tried anything, she would fight, even if she had to die trying. Outside, the ship lifted into the air, breaking through the smoke and fire. Of the market world, Vela watched through the window as the ground became smaller. Her stepfather stood there, bottle in hand, already drinking. He didn't even look up. She turned away, breathing slowly. Maybe this was another cage. Maybe not. But something deep inside her whispered, "This human." He was not like the others, and whatever he wanted from her, it wasn't for pleasure, it wasn't for pain. It was something else, something she didn't understand yet, but would soon find out. Asterisk, the stars outside the window looked peaceful. But Vela's heart was not. She sat on the floor of the human's ship, her back against a cold metal wall. She didn't know this man, didn't trust him, and yet he hadn't hurt her, not even touched her. His name was Cal Rex. He hadn't told her much. just that he was from Earth. He moved like a soldier, silent, alert, always watching. But not watching her like the others did. He didn't stare at her. Curves, her heavy limbs, her wide form. He looked at her like she was just a person. It confused her. It scared her more than violence ever had. Vela was used to stares, cruel jokes, whispers, too wide to fit the breeding beds, too soft to serve as a guard. Her people judged bodies like hers as broken, useless. Throwaway, and because she couldn't give them what they wanted, they had thrown her away again and again. But Cal didn't throw her away. He gave her food, a blanket, and a place to rest. Still, she didn't lower her guard. She hadn't survived this long by trusting anyone. She gripped the sharp shard hidden in her sleeve. One wrong move from him, and she would fight even if she lost. After hours of silence, Cal finally spoke. "You don't have to sleep on the floor," he said without turning. "There's a bed in the back room." Vela looked up sharply. A test. A trap. She didn't answer, didn't move. Cal sighed and turned his chair to face her. "I'm not like your stepfather," he said, voice calm but cold. "If I wanted something from you, I would have taken it already." Vela's jaw tightened. "Then why did you buy me?" she asked. His eyes met hers, because no one else did.
Silence again.
Heavy and thick. The engines hummed softly. Vela looked down at her hands. Thick fingers, wide palms. The hands of a creature built for labor, not beauty. "You think?" "I'm broken," she muttered. Cal leaned back in his chair. "No," he said. "I think you're dangerous." That made her blink. She wasn't expecting that. She wasn't dangerous. She was weak, wasn't she? Cal stood and walked over to a storage locker. He pulled out a small data screen and tossed it to her. "Take a look." She hesitated, then tapped it on. A file opened a medical report, old and dirty, but with her name on it, her full genetic code, body specs, DNA patterns. Her breath caught. This is me." "Yes," Cal said, "and it says something interesting." He walked back to the pilot seat and tapped a few keys. The ship lights dimmed, and a hologram of her body floated in the air. But this one looked different, stronger, brighter. "You're part of an old experiment," Cal said. "Your kind was modified during the Lost Wars. Made to survive extreme conditions, soft bodies, thick bones, dense muscle. High resistance to cold and heat, but something went wrong. Or that's what they told you." Vela's hands shook. "They said I was useless. Couldn't breed, couldn't serve." Cal turned to face her fully. "That's what they wanted you to believe, because if they knew what you really were, they'd fear you." Vela couldn't breathe. All her life she thought she was worthless. But now this human said she might be powerful. She stood up slowly, her eyes still locked on the glowing hologram. "Why are you telling me this?" Cal shrugged. "Because I've seen what happens to people like you, like me. We don't fit into their systems. So they erase us. But sometimes, misfits survive, and when they do, they change everything." Suddenly, the ship's lights blinked red. Warning, external scan detected. Cal jumped into action. "They found us," he said, typing fast. "Who?" Vela asked. "Fear rising. The ones who paid your stepfather." The ship rocked as a small explosion hit the outer shield. "They want you back," Cal said. "But not because you're weak. They want to silence you." Vela clenched. Her fists, for the first time, she didn't feel small. She felt angry. Cal tossed her a plasma cutter. "Time to see what your body was really made for." The ship floated in the middle of a cold, silent region of space. No stars nearby, no planets, only darkness and endless black. This was dead space. A zone where signals vanished, and ships disappeared forever. Cal Rex had brought them here for one reason: to hide, but Vela knew something was wrong. Her skin tingled. Her stomach was tight. She felt like something Was watching. She stood in the hallway near the control room. Arms crossed, her thick frame leaned against the cold wall as the ship lights flickered. Cal was working quietly, checking scanners and fuel levels. Vela finally spoke. "We're not alone here, are we?" Cal didn't answer right away. He looked at the radar. A faint blip flashed on the edge of the screen. "They've found us," he said at last. Voice low. "Bounty hunters?" She asked. He nodded once. "Elite ones, and they're not here to capture you alive?" Vala's breath caught in her throat. "But why kill me? I'm not a threat." "You are," Kel replied, looking straight at her. "You're proof of a secret the galaxy wants to bury." She felt the old fear rise in her chest, her knees weak, her hands shaking. But this time, she didn't sit down. She stood taller, even as her heart pounded like drums. "Then we fight," she said. Cal raised an eyebrow, surprised. "You sure?" "No," she said honestly, "but I'm tired of running." He gave a small smile. "Good, then get ready." He tossed her a pulse grenade and strapped a short plasma blade to her arm. The blade fit tight against her thick wrist, but it hummed. To life in her grip, they moved through the ship. Cal teaching her where the defense panels were, Vela learned fast, her mind sharper than she thought. Even in panic, she memorized escape routes, lock codes, and pressure seals. Suddenly, boom. The ship shook. Lights dimmed. Alarms screamed. "They're boarding us." Cal shouted, pulling her behind a door. The hull opened in the docking bay. And two figures entered, tall, armored, moving like shadows. Their helmets glowed red, their voices robotic. "Give us the girl, human," one said. "She's not for sale," Cal growled back. Gun ready, they fired first. But Cal was faster. He ducked, rolled, and shot both in the chest. Sparks flew. But they didn't fall. They were heavily modified, half flesh, half machine. "Vela, run." He yelled, but she didn't run, not this time. She charged instead. Her heavy steps thundered on the metal floor. The hunters turned, confused, too late. She slammed into one with her full weight, sending it flying into the wall. Its body cracked the steel, sparks spraying everywhere. The other hunter raised its gun. Vela grabbed a panel off the wall and used it as a shield. Bullets bounced off. She pushed forward, growling with one swing. She knocked the gun from its hands. Cal finished the job. One shot to the head. Both hunters fell, sparks dying. Silence returned, but only for a moment. Then the ship's AI spoke. "Warning. Signal spike detected. More incoming." Cal's face turned pale. They weren't alone. "Then we go." Vela said. "No," he replied. "We're not fast enough." He dragged a heavy crate from under the floor inside. Something strange shimmered. A pod with clear gel and glowing wires. "This is Plan B," he said. "You go in. I eject you to a safe zone. What about you?" "I stay." "No," Vela shouted. "We fight together." "You're too important," he said firmly. "If they capture you, they erase you, and the truth dies." Tears filled her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. She stepped closer. Hand on his arm. "I don't want to be special, if it means being alone again." Cal looked down, then nodded. "Then let's change the plan." He grabbed 2 sets of stealth armor from the sidewall. "We don't fight, we vanish." They suited up, moved through the service hatch. And as the new wave of bounty hunters entered the ship, Vela and Cal slipped out into the void, floating between cargo debris. Silent and unseen, her heart pounded, fear and fire burning inside her. She was no longer a girl running from a drunk. Stepfather, she was the key, and the whole galaxy wanted to destroy her. But she whispered to herself, "I am not too soft to survive." And in that cold, endless dark, something in her awakened, ... The abandoned station floated like a grave in the dark. Old, broken, forgotten by time and war, Its lights flickered. Weakly, as if even they had given up, Cal guided Vela through a narrow tunnel filled with dust and rust. "Are you sure this place is safe?" she asked, her voice low. "No," he replied, "but it's where the truth lives." The door creaked open to reveal a hidden lab cold, silver, covered in wires and strange glowing panels. Vela's breath caught. Every wall showed holograms of different alien species, their bodies dissected, measured, studied. But then she saw something that made her knees go weak. A copy of herself floating inside a glass tube, motionless, same wide hips, same soft belly, same thick arms, same face. "What? What is this?" she whispered. Cal didn't answer at first. He walked over to a console and activated the main screen. A human voice played back from an old recording. "Subject V17 rejected by natural selection, but holds highest density muscle-to-fat ratio ever recorded in hybrid class. Too soft for warfare, too big for reproduction, but shows resistance to radiation, extreme cold, and impact shock. Possibly the future of survival." Vela stepped back, shaking her head. "I was a test subject. Your people." "Lead to you," Cal said quietly. "They told you that your body was useless. But really, you were built to survive what no one else could." She gripped the edge of a table, breathing hard. All her life, she had been punished for her body, mocked, sold, beaten. But now, it was the very thing that made her rare, valuable, even powerful. "Why would they lie?" she asked. "Because if they admitted your value, they'd have to give you freedom," Cal said. "And freedom is dangerous to those in control." Suddenly, the station lights turned red. A deep alarm echoed through the halls. Motion detected. The AI warned, "Unknown signal entering perimeter." "They found us," Cal said, pulling his weapon. "Already?" Vela asked, panic creeping in. "They never stopped tracking you as they prepared to escape." A strange sound echoed through the halls, not footsteps, slithering. From the shadows stepped a creature wearing no armor, just skin like metal, and eyes like frozen glass. "You are the soft one," it hissed at Vela. The mistake that lived. Vela froze. The creature moved closer, holding a strange net gun in its hand. "Your kind was built to shield others, not to lead." It snarled, "Return to the lab. Let us finish your deletion." Vela's body trembled, not with fear, but fury. All her life, she had been made to feel ashamed. But now, she knew she wasn't a mistake. She was a survivor. She stepped forward, fists clenched. "I'm not going back in a cage," she said, voice rising. "Not ever again." The creature fired, but the net bounced off her body like a leaf hitting stone. Her skin absorbed the shock. Her bones held strong. She charged. Slamming into the creature with all her weight, it flew back, crashing through glass and metal. Cal finished it with a blast to the head. "You weren't kidding," he said, catching his breath. "You're a living tank." Vela panted, her heart racing, but she stood tall, stronger than ever. "I thought being soft was a weakness," she said, "but maybe it's the only reason I'm still alive." Cal touched the control panel again. A hidden file opened Project Shelter. It showed blueprints of entire cities meant to survive solar storms. And every one powered by bodies like hers. They were planning to build a future around people like you, Cal said, but they canceled it. Hid the truth, buried the science. Vela stared at the screen. She saw pictures of other soft-bodied aliens. None survived. She was the last, the price of being soft. She whispered, was never weakness. It was being hunted for. Something I didn't even know I had. She turned to Cal. We have to show this to the galaxy. If I'm the last of Project Shelter, then I want the world to see what they tried to erase. Cal nodded. Then, get ready, Vela, because from now on, you're not just surviving, you're leading. The station was falling apart. Sparks flew from the ceiling. The floor rumbled beneath their boots, but Vela didn't feel fear anymore. Not after what she had just discovered. She wasn't useless, she wasn't broken, she was built. Her thick skin was like armor. Her heavy body didn't slow her, it protected her, and her heart was finally awake. Cal ran beside her, typing commands into his wrist console. "We have to get out of this station," he said. "It's rigged to self-destruct, fail-safe against stolen data." Behind them, the lab caught fire. The memory banks already melting, the truth would burn. Unless they carried it out. Vela gripped a small core drive. It held everything. Files on Project Shelter, DNA records, and evidence that her kind was made for more. "We go to the relay station," Cal said. "Send the data across the sector. Let the galaxy see what they tried to hide." Vela nodded. "For everyone they erased. I want the truth to live." They reached the launch bay. But something moved in the shadows. Metal boots, heavy breathing, red visors. More bounty hunters. This time, a full team, armored, prepared. Cal cursed under his breath. "We can't fight them all." Vela stepped forward, slow and sure. "I can." He looked at her, surprised. "They're armed. So am I," she said, holding up her fists. The bounty hunters raised their guns, but she ran at them before they could fire. Her thick legs pounded the ground like thunder. The first shot hit her shoulder, but bounced off. Her dense skin absorbed the blast. The hunters scattered, confused. She grabbed one and slammed him into the wall, breaking the armor. Another tried to stab her. She caught the blade in her bare hand. Blood ran, but she didn't stop. Vela had always been told she was too big to fight, too slow, too soft, too round, but now she was a wrecking force. Cal joined in, covering her from the side, left. "Side grenade," he shouted. She turned, saw it flying, and did the impossible. She threw her body over Cal, using herself as a shield. Boom! Smoke and heat exploded. But when the dust cleared, she was still standing, burnt, bleeding. "But alive?" she gasped, coughed, then smiled. "I'm done hiding," she said. The hunters backed away, fear in their eyes. They weren't trained for this, a target who refused to fall. They retreated, vanishing into the smoke. Cal helped her to her feet. "You've just scared away professionals." "Good," she said. "Let them be scared." They entered the emergency escape pod. Cal inserted the core drive, powering the transmitter. "Once we send this, every planet will know the truth," he said. "Are you ready?" Vela nodded. "I was born for this. They just didn't want me to know it." She pressed the send button. The signal flew into space, bouncing between satellites, reaching colonies, governments, rebel groups, truth seekers, within minutes. The story of Vela's body, her strength, her DNA, her survival, was everywhere. No longer a secret, no longer a shame. Then the pod detached from the station behind them. The lab exploded, a burst of light in the darkness, the place where she was studied. Labeled and judged, gone. But she didn't need it anymore. She carried the truth now, in her body, and in her purpose. Cal looked at her. "What now?" Vela stared out at the stars. "I'm not going to run anymore," she said. "I'm going to find others like me. The ones they said were too much, too heavy, too wide, too soft. And I'm going to show them. We were never weak." Cal smiled. "You want to start a movement?" "No," she said. "I want to start a revolution." The mining moon of Draketol was dead. No sunlight, no air. Just jagged rocks and deep shadows. But beneath the surface, a hidden auction was alive and burning. Inside a giant cavern, alien nobles, warlords, and scientists gathered. They weren't here to buy gold or gems. They were here to buy flesh. In the center of the auction pit, a hologram spun in the air. A female body, thick and curvy, glowing with strange data around her form, She is the last of Project Shelter. The announcer called, rare, dangerous, and genetically unique. At the back of the chamber stood a familiar figure, dirty, drunk, and smirking with pride. Her stepfather. She belonged to me once, he told the bidders, but I'll sell her again for the right price. Then the doors slammed open, smoke rolled in, alarms screamed. And through the fog walked a tall, wide-shouldered silhouette, every eye turned toward her. Some in shock, others in fear. Vela stepped into the pit, no chains, no shame, no fear. Her armor was cracked, her arms scarred, but her eyes burned with fire. The auctioneer backed away. "What are you doing here?" "I came," she said, her voice echoing, "to shut this place down." Gasps echoed through the chamber. Some laughed nervously. Others reached for weapons, and her stepfather grinned. "Well, well," he said, the soft little burden came. "Back, you should have stayed hidden." Girl Vela stared at him, her chest rising slowly. "I'm not your girl," she said. "Not anymore," he stepped forward, mocking her. "You think you're special now. Still just a heavy mistake. You were always too full, too soft, too much trouble." Vela didn't blink. "I was never the problem," she said. "You were too small to see what I could become." He raised his hand, aiming a shock pistol at her, but before he could fire, boom, the sidewall exploded as Cal Rex entered with a strike team. Smoke bombs and pulse rifles lit up the chamber. "Everyone, drop your weapons." Cal shouted, but most of them ran. Some fought back. Chaos filled the room. In the middle of it all, Vela walked slowly toward her stepfather. He fired once, the bolt hit her chest, but it didn't stop her. He fired again, it burned her shoulder. But she kept walking. "Stop," he yelled, backing away. "Why won't you fall?" Vela stood inches from him now. She looked down at him, trembling, red-eyed, broken. "You sold me for a drink," she said. "You let them hurt me." Over and over, "It was just business," he stammered. "I needed credit." "I didn't think you'd live anyway." "I did," she whispered. "And now I live for every girl you said was worthless." She reached down, grabbed his weapon, and crushed it in her hand like paper. He fell to the ground, shaking. But she didn't hit him. She didn't kill him. She turned away. "You're not worth it." Instead, she walked to the center console, grabbed the auctioneer by the collar. "Broadcast this," she ordered. "Let the galaxy see what you really are." The auctioneer whimpered. "Please, I do it." She growled. Seconds later, a live feed began across hundreds of systems. Vela stood in front of the camera, her voice calm but thunderous. "I was born into a body they called broken," she said. "They said I was too big to be useful, too soft to be seen, too strange to belong. They sold me, rejected me, hunted me, but I survived, and now I speak for all the ones like me." She raised the data core for the galaxy to see. This is the truth they hid. We were not made to be slaves. We were made to outlast all of you. She dropped the core into the console, triggering a mass upload, exposing names, buyers, experiments, and war secrets. The screen glitched, then exploded with data across the stars. Vela stepped back, breathing heavy. Cal walked up beside her. "That was bold," he said. "That was necessary," she replied. All around them, the chamber emptied, and the systems fell silent. But in that silence, something new was born. Not fear, not pain, but hope and Vela, the girl once sold for a drink, now became a symbol of resistance. Too soft to break, too full of fire to forget. The broadcast had spread like fire through the stars, systems that never cared before. Now pause to listen. Vela's voice echoed across planets, satellites, warships, and refugee colonies. Every screen lit up with her face, the alien girl. Once sold for a drink, now standing tall, bold, unchained, and the galaxy watched, some with fear, many with hope, all with attention. But the silence didn't last, because when the powerful lose control, they always strike back. A day after the truth went public, a message arrived on Cal's ship, cold and short. Surrender the girl, or Earth itself will face consequence. Vela read the message 3 times. She didn't flinch. Instead, she whispered, "Let them come." She was no longer running. Now, she was preparing. The scene shifted to Orin V. A neutral moon where no army dared fight until now. There, in an ancient council chamber built by forgotten civilizations, Vela stood among representatives of dozens of alien species. Some human, some hybrid, some monstrous in shape. They all looked at her, waiting, judging. Some still doubting. She wore no armor this time, only her plain travel clothes, torn, dusty, stretched around her thick frame, but her eyes unshakable. "I know what you see," she said calmly. "You see someone who doesn't fit your idea of a leader. Too wide to wear your uniform. Too soft to win your wars. Too much body, too little fear. But I've survived. Everything you threw at me, you rejected me, erased me, sold me, broke me. But I'm still here." She looked each of them in the eye, "And I'm not asking for your permission anymore. I'm telling you the truth, people. Like me. We are the future." Just as the council began to whisper, alarms blared. Ships entered orbit. Earth's secret enforcer fleet, unknown to the public, even to human governments. Now revealed for what they were, guard dogs of a corrupt system. Cal ran to the side panel, checking readings. "They're charging plasma cannons targeting this building. Cowards," Vela muttered. "They destroyed this moon just to shut me up." She looked around, council members, scrambling, running, hiding, but a few stayed, watching her, waiting for her next move. This was it, her final test. Vela turned to Cal. "Open the external speakers." "What are you now, Cal?" she said with quiet power. The speakers roared to life, transmitting her voice across orbit to every ship, every soldier, every frightened planet. "This is Vela," she said, "the one you couldn't erase. I speak now to those who were told they didn't belong. To the outcasts, the hybrids, the malformed, the forgotten. You were never too soft, too strange, or too much. You were exactly what the old world feared, strong in your own way. Let them fire at me," she said boldly. "Let them burn this moon. But remember, if I fall, the truth still stands, and I will be the last soft body they ever silence." Silence followed. Then a miracle. The lead Earth ship powered down its cannon. Followed by another, then another. One by one, the fleet backed away. Then came a voice over the open channel. A human captain, her voice shaking. "I have a daughter." "Like you," she said. "I was told to be ashamed of her, but not anymore. We will not fire." Inside the council chamber, the moment was quiet. Vela felt her knees weaken, not from fear, but from relief. She sat on the floor, laughed a little, even cried. Cal walked over, handed her a drink, this time not to sell her, but to honor her. "To the girl they sold," he said. She raised the cup, "To the girl they couldn't break." Months later, the galaxy changed slowly but surely. The Vela Accords were signed, protecting hybrids, defectives, and altered beings. New cities rose, designed not for one perfect form, but for all. And at the center of it stood Valinau, a leader, not a queen, not a soldier, but something more, a symbol, a revolution. A soft-bodied survivor who taught the stars a new kind of strength.